It's the Opperman Report. And now, here is investigator Ed Opperman.
Welcome to the Opperman Report. I'm your host, private investigator Ed Opperman. You can find me at Opperman Investigations and Digital Forensic Consulting if you email me at oppermaninvestigations@gmail.com. Our archives are free at Spreaker.com. I do a live show there every Friday night, 8 p.m. Eastern Time. We play all the new content comes out Friday nights. Okay, that's when we put up the new podcast content is Friday nights, but during the week we play classic shows and repeats and break in with breaking news and all kind of stuff like that at Spreaker.com. And if you go there and look up Jennifer Braxton, or if you look up Terron Evans, you'll find our guest today, Jennifer Braxton, who is the mother of Terron Evans. A very suspicious death of her son. She's a Black Lives Matter activist. Her son came to Potsdam, New York, and then suddenly a very mysterious death behind that. The main focus right now is on TikTok. Okay, Ms. Braxton puts up TikTok videos like 10 times a day with content about this. So you go to the Jennifer Braxton. Is it Backstrom or Braxton?
It's Baxtron.
Right, Baxtron. Backstrom.
Yes.
And the Terron's mom is the other one on TikTok you can find there. Now, there's a rally in Potsdam, New York over this issue on June 1st. Say His Name rally at 6 p.m. in front of the post office at 21 Elm Street. Miss Backstrom, are you there?
Yes. Hello.
Remind us, before we get into the whole story about your son, and then we get into what the official story is and then what's really going on in this story here. Remind the audience, who is Jennifer Backstrom?
Well, I am the organizer of Black Lives Matter Potsdam, New York, which I organized in June 2020. I was a resident of Potsdam, New York from like 2011 until 2021. So after my son was murdered. Are
you still there?
Yes, I am.
Okay.
Hello?
Yeah. No. Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. And then tell us, before we get into the death of your son, Terron, tell us about what was Terron Evans like?
Well, Terron was funny. Terron was very smart and always willing to learn and trying to teach people new things. He was a great son, great uncle, brother, grandson, friend. Terron was the type of person that always tried to make people laugh, and see the better of things, no matter how we felt. Terron was not afraid to speak his mind, speak up for what he believed in, and Terron is missed very, very deeply.
What was it that brought you first to Potsdam, New York, and then what brought Terron there?
So my foster mother actually lived in Potsdam, New York, and that's the reason I went up there, to be closer to her and to get out of the city. For me, my youngest son, and my grandchildren that I had, I wanted to get them out of the city because of all the violence in the city, and give them a chance to live.
And then what was it that brought Terron, your son Terron Evans, up to Potsdam, New York?
Because Terron didn't want to be in the city. He wanted to live, and he thought that would be a better place for him.
Yeah, you'd think that would be like the simple thing, hey, let's get out to the country, to a small town where it's safer, and where things are slower.
Right.
And then so you got to face corruption. And what was it that got you? Were you involved in Black Lives Matter or any kind of activism before you showed up in Potsdam?
Oh, yes. Before I showed up in Potsdam, I had done a few marches and protests. Vigils, different things, in Syracuse. The thing is, I've always, advocated for life, against gun violence, against racism, so many things. Everything I can relate with pretty much is everything that I advocate for.
And it's so because myself as well too, since the 70s, I'm sure I'm a few years older than you, but since the 70s and activism, and just the basic simple things in life. Hey, let's all get along. Let's all have a fair deal. What's wrong with that? But that's a radical.
Right.
Radical extremist.
My my very first march here in Syracuse. We marched from the east side to the south side, and to be honest with you, I feel, the police are corrupt everywhere you go, or are. And anyways, that march was supposed to go to a specific park, and law enforcement was to escort us. And they refused to escort us to the park that we were scheduled to go to, and took us to another park. And we ended up getting shot at twice at that park, fighting against gun violence, but no matter where I go, I'm always fighting for something, always. And so when I went to Potsdam, one of the first things, was a little girl that was killed in a car accident because signs were blocked by trees and stuff, and I'm sorry, I'm like getting numb right now. And then there was a young man in high school who supposedly committed suicide, and then there were bullying incidents at school and, racism within the community. So there was just a lot of things that I was protesting for, and nothing was specifically towards law enforcement until I started Black Lives Matter Potsdam, New York. And at that point is when things changed as far as law enforcement being involved, with escorting or whatever it was we needed for safety measures and stuff,
Yeah, the audience should know that since I've come to know Jennifer Braxton, that she's not only advocating for her own personal situation here, even after the tragedy of losing her son, she still comes to me with these other people and these other people struggling with the same type of issues and advocating for them too as well.
Right.
So I admire you so much, Jennifer. You have no idea.
Thank you.
And I really encourage people to follow on TikTok. Just one follower at a time is all we're asking for right now. And now, the average person has no idea. They think, well, oh my goodness, okay, the death of your son, this is a big event. But even before that, as an activist, there's a lot of previous little events. The existence of COINTELPRO type forces in the government and the police and even in private industry, it's always a factor. No, besides that shooting at that one rally there, did you experience other types of COINTELPRO type surveillance and agitation in your life?
Just when I started Black Lives Matter Potsdam, New York.
Gotcha. And how big is that police department there in Potsdam? How big is the police force there?
It's very small. There's, I don't know, maybe 10 cops, 15 if that.
Right.
In that department, yeah.
And so you got a small town. Here shows up this activist who's not taking any nonsense. You only got 10, 15 cops here. Everybody knows each other. They know where you live. Right. They know your family. They know your friends. Everybody's involved. Everybody's up in everybody's business.
Right.
So why don't you take us from when Terron Evans shows up in Potsdam and then the official story of what happened to Terron.
Okay. Well, Terron moved to Potsdam, New York in June 2020. It was, I think, June 18th he arrived because we celebrated Juneteenth the next day. And, I was just so excited to have him there, and he volunteered and helped out at Juneteenth, and it was beautiful, He picked those signs up, and he was there right beside me, and he protested in Potsdam. He protested in Messina, New York. He protested in Canton, New York, in Gouverneur, New York, for justice for so many people, you know. And in September 2020, he met a woman that he started dating. In October 2020, they broke up because she told him she was going to murder him. I'm sorry, I forgot I'm not on TikTok.
Yeah.
So next thing you know, he's gone on January 8th, 2021, in this woman's home. And she claims that he killed himself.
Well, and why don't you take us through that night when you first heard about this and what the official story was? Who contacted you?
So on January 8th, 2021, around 9 a.m., St. Lawrence County Sheriff O'Connell came to my house to tell me that my son had committed suicide by taking medication, and that a 911 call went in that morning of January 7th by his girlfriend saying that he committed suicide.
So, and what was the span of time between he allegedly took this overdose and when the police concluded that it was a suicide?
There's been no report of when he took these pills. No time, not even in the autopsy. There was no pills found in his stomach, no pill residue in or around his mouth, and no signs of vomiting. Actually, on the death certificate, it says that from onset to death is minutes, which is impossible.
What was the time then from the first call, the first reporting of his death to the conclusion of suicide?
So, what was the time frame in between, you're asking?
Yeah, like, okay, I call the cops at 8 o'clock in the morning, and the cops come back and tell me at 9 o'clock it's suicide. What's the period of time there?
So the call went in around 6:49 a.m. on January 8th, 2021.
Right. And
his time of death was 7:55 a.m. at the Canton Potsdam Hospital. And by 8:55, 9 o'clock, they were at my house.
Telling you it was suicide's concluded.
Yeah, he was at my house, O'Connell.
Gotcha.
Yeah, and then like 2 hours later, O'Connell and 3 other sheriffs came to my house and for what they called an interview of me. But they didn't ask me anything about Terron. The only thing they discussed with me was where I was going to have the autopsy and how they knew Crystal, the woman that claims Terron killed herself in her home.
No, was it the substance found? Wasn't it some like ridiculous substance too that's not normally associated with an overdose or a suicide? What was it again?
So what's in the toxicology report is, hold on, because I want to be exact. It's definitely the bupropion.
Yeah, buprofen.
Yeah, that's what's, bupropion. And hold on, oops. Sorry.
No, you're good. You're fine. And I'm thinking this is a buprofen, Bruphr. How do you spell it?
Hold on, I'm gonna get into it.
Yeah.
Let's see. Yeah, it's called bupropion. So I'm just getting to the medical records here.
Yeah, it's an antidepressant.
Yep.
Yeah, that's right. I wonder if there's ever been another overdose with this.
There have been. There have been. It's not impossible. There have been. But at the same time, there is some kind of fragments somewhere. There's something of them, and Terron's stomach was completely empty.
Right. Yeah,
even though...
It used to treat depression, and people quit smoking with this stuff.
Yes. Yep. Yep. Even though the son of Crystal, he claimed that Terron ate with them around 7:30, 8 o'clock on January 7, 2021. So there was not even any food in his stomach. And the sheriff came and told me that the night of the autopsy, January 8th. He came to my house to tell me that there was nothing in his stomach. There was no pills, no food, no nothing.
But still, it's a suicide, we're sure.
Yeah.
Well, that's some great police work. I got to tell you, these guys, did they all receive promotions after this?
Well, no, actually, the lead sheriff, he retired just a few days after the New York State Attorney General emailed them requesting information on Terron's case.
All right. Yeah, we saw the same thing too in Vegas in the with those judges and the Shane Valentine investigation over there too, where suddenly investigators just start retiring as soon as some light gets shed on them. Now, but they started immediately talking to you about his, I guess, live-in girlfriend, Crystal.
Yes.
What they have to say about her?
So they were just saying, because I was questioning them on why, okay, she is a police informant, okay? I found that out after Terron's death. I knew she was a drug dealer, okay? So most informants are drug dealers or people who are trying to stay out of trouble from the crimes they're committing, you know? And so I was saying to them, why haven't you arrested her, you know? Because when O'Connell came to my house and told me, gave me the death notification and mentioned Crystal, his words were, I'm not aware of her. I don't know her. But when O'Connell came with the other three sheriffs, Karinji, the lead sheriff detective that has retired, he said, we know her very well. We've arrested her many times. So that was, you know, pretty much the conversation about Crystal. But the rest of the conversation, which people can see in my link tree, in my bio, on my TikTok accounts and Facebook account, that interview, that's all we talked about as far as Crystal. And then the rest of it was pretty much where I was going to have the autopsy done. Again, they never asked me anything about Terron. Has Terron been here? How's Terron been? You know, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, was he depressed? Since it's a suicide, was he depressed? You're the mom.
Right.
You know?
Nothing. They asked me absolutely nothing.
Now, we arrested her many times, okay, but how many convictions are there? Or what's the disposition of those many arrests? None.
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 Because other people have looked into her stuff and was like, I think they said around 2017 is when she most likely became an informant. And then, go ahead.
Yeah, clear indication. You're arrested many times, no convictions. You know,
right?
Maybe she's a really good lawyer. Best lawyer in town. You know?
Right.
God.
You know, and then it's odd too because you know there were 5 responding officers.
Yeah.
2 Potsdam police officers and 3 St. Lawrence County sheriffs. I only received 1 body cam video. That was from Potsdam police officer Jared Lavoie. Lavoie and Stevenson were at the scene for almost an hour, but the body cam video was redacted down to 2 minutes and 36 seconds. Now, the 3 sheriffs, John Jones, O'Connell, and McCarger, none of them had body cam video at the scene, and they showed up almost an hour after the initial 911 call. But O'Connell had body cam videos, 2 at my house when they came to give me the death notification and what they call the interview.
Right, and just think, too, we were just talking about this very small town, 10, 15 cops tops, and they got 30% of the police force working on this at your house there. Right.
Right. But actually, see, the sheriff, okay, Excuse me. Excuse me just a second.
Take it down.
Okay. Sorry about that.
No, take it down.
So where Crystal lived is in the town of Potsdam.
Right.
Okay. The Potsdam police are in the village of Potsdam. The St. Lawrence County sheriffs are in the town of, oh my gosh.
County, right?
No, Canton, New York. Okay. Right across from the district attorney's office.
Okay.
Okay. So being that Terron's death was in the town of Potsdam, the Potsdam police, who are much closer than the sheriff, are the first responding officers, not the investigating officers, because the sheriffs are the ones that investigate things in the town of Potsdam.
Gotcha.
So that's kind of weird, but...
No, not really. And how big is that Canton Sheriff's Department?
So,
how many cops there?
Oh, goodness. Yes, that's very small, too.
Yeah, it's only...
Probably about the same amount.
Right. Now,
that's very small. And something I did find out, too, and this is just how because I had been there already, but I did not realize it, that the other law enforcement department that I was calling out prior to my son's death, which is the New York State Police, is actually right there in that small building with the St. Lawrence County Sheriff.
Gotcha.
Yep.
Gotcha. So they're all eating lunch together. They're all hanging out together, parking in the same parking lot, bumping into each other's cars. There was one very suspicious thing here is that when you got some records of when the case file was opened. Now, why don't you try and explain that to us?
So after over 2 years of putting in FOIL requests for, reports and statements and body cam videos and, everything that they have pertaining to Terron's death that they kept denying me, in March last year, the county attorney released some information from the St. Lawrence County Sheriff's Office. And one of the things that he gave me was a USB, and on that USB, there's different files, and the very first file is a sound-only interview. You listen to it, and it's verbally dated by Detective McCarter as January 8, 2021. But when you click out of it, it clearly says January 7, 2021, 10:41 p.m. So how do you have, or why would you have, a file opened on a suicide of someone that you've never had in your custody hours and hours before the suicide?
Gotcha. So the notation on the file, which is generated automatically by computer, I'm assuming, right?
Right.
It's January 7th, 10 p.m., but the first call, according to all official records, is January 8th in the morning at 6:49.
Correct.
So,
in which they still are denying me the 911 call.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Even with the Freedom of Information Act request, you're still not getting that?
Nope.
Oh, that's very interesting.
And I've even messaged the emergency center in Canton, New York, and the guy was like, and it's almost like he already knew about Terron.
Yeah.
He's like, I'm so sorry. Just he said, put your FOIL request in with the county attorney. If he accepts it, he'll request the call, whatever information you need. I'll send it to him, and then he'll send it to you.
Okay, and has there been an official denial, a reason for that denial?
Oh, yeah, plenty of them.
What's the denial? What's the reason?
They're not allowed to just give it out. I have to go through court and do all this and do all that.
I see. Okay.
Yep, just for the 911 call.
Right. So in a situation where you have a January 7th notation, 10 p.m. is when the case file is being opened, but the first call is not until the next day. Something like that. But there's many explanations. One is time travel, right? That's a time travel possibility in this explanation. But another possibility would be someone who is working with the police as an informant could contact a friend of theirs, a contact. They got a business card in their pocket, and they call up, and the case is open that way. But then the official story is not open till the next day. And I guess people can come to their own conclusions of how it could possibly be happening.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Now, and then we have this bupropion, which is very uncommon. Would Terron have access to other methods of suicide if he wanted to commit suicide?
Oh, yeah.
Guns?
Definitely. Yeah.
Did he have a gun?
Yes, he did. He had 2 of them.
Okay.
And he
What
showed
caliber?
them to me, and I have no idea.
Okay.
I don't know anything about guns. I just know what they look like.
Right.
But, his reason was because he had to protect himself, because he had to fight up there. People were racist as hell and jumping on him, and he wasn't going to let people just, do whatever they wanted to him, but he did not feel safe.
Now, what about in Potsdam, New York? Are there bridges and,
Oh, yeah.
reservoirs, places where there are frequent suicides? Like here, they had to put up a fence on one of our bridges down here because there were so many suicides. There was one a month. Okay. And and they had to put up a big fence, to prevent it. Now, is there a local spot where there's frequent suicides?
No. No.
But there are places where he could have gone, like bridges or and done it that way.
There's plenty of other ways that, it could have happened.
No,
that's just like at the end of last year, a black man was found hanging in his garage in Potsdam, New York, and they labeled that as suicide.
Right.
And I'm sorry, in my gut, that wasn't a suicide. I know this man was going through having to deal with his girlfriend's racist family, and because my mom is from up there and is connected to these people, I feel like I can't speak on that too much because I don't want to put other people in danger.
Gotcha.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. What was the conclusion, though, that it wasn't an accidental overdose rather than a suicide? You lose track of how many pills you're taking.
Apparently, okay, so this woman, Crystal, says that he took over 50 Wellbutrin pills. So the conclusion was her word and the toxicology results.
Now, were you getting along with these people in that home before the death?
Was I getting along with these people?
Yeah. I
didn't know them.
Okay.
I didn't know Crystal. I didn't know her son. I'm sorry. I don't.
When did your contact with them become adversarial?
The contact that I had, the first time I ever contacted Crystal was on Facebook Messenger.
Right.
I think it was around October 2020, asking her had she seen Terron. And that was like the very beginning of October. And she responded like the end of October. Oh, you're following me on Facebook. You shouldn't be unless it has to do with me, or something smart comment. And that was the first time I talked to her. And the last time that I talked to her was the day my son died.
And how did that conversation go?
Oh, my God, I woke up and he was dead and he wasn't breathing. I got to go. The police are here. And hung up.
Well, then, what time was that then?
That was, let's see. That had to be around, I'm going to say between 9:30, maybe.
Okay.
That morning.
Okay. Now, And all this time, okay, fine. You have a tragedy in your life, and everybody's tempers are hot, emotions are running high. But now it's like 4 years later, right? Has there ever been some kind of a type of mediation? Hey, let's get together and talk, and we're in cooler heads. Let's talk about this. What really happened? Can we talk now?
No. No
attempt.
Not at all.
Hey, Jennifer, I want to clear my name with you. I want you to understand what really happened here.
Nothing at all. There's been no response. Her son has responded by laughing at certain comments on my posts, as though this is a joke. So, but as far as any communication, verbal communication, nothing at all.
Attorney letters, nothing?
Mm-mm.
She had a great legal team with all these arrests. So they shouldn't have their team now. What happened there? I guess they're still working on the OJ case. But just amazing.
Nothing.
It's all been such a mess. Now, what brought me to contact you more recently, we haven't talked in a while, was you had a TikTok where you showed a book by that author Patterson. And tell us about that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So I got to look at the picture. Hold on.
So,
anyways, Crystal claimed that she had no surveillance cameras inside the home.
Right.
And from the St. Lawrence County Sheriff's, they took pictures. Excuse me, of the bedroom, the living room, the kitchen. And one of the pictures, a couple of the pictures from the living room showed a coffee table in front of a couch, and on the coffee table is an Arlo camera, surveillance camera, on top of a book by James Patterson called Private Down Under. So that just means a lot to me because, first of all, she lied saying she didn't have surveillance. And second of all, I feel that whatever happened to my son is on that camera, and however it happened, a lot of it has to do with that book underneath that camera.
Because in that book, there's like an attempted murder using a tattoo.
Yeah. There. I didn't read the whole thing, but I did read a part where a guy had gotten a tattoo, and there was a chemical in the tattoo that was powerful enough or supposed to kill him. And in October 2020, right before Terron and Crystal broke up, Terron had gotten a tattoo. I'm not sure if it was Crystal herself that put it on, but I know it was not a professional tattoo. Mind you, that is when Crystal told Terron she was going to kill him. I honestly believe had he not left in October 2020, he would have been dead.
Well, I don't think you've ever described that to us before. She actually made a threat to him and she was going to kill him?
Yes.
Can you elaborate on that?
Well, he came to my house to visit one day, and he was driving a different car. I was like, whose car is this? It was some other woman that he was seeing. I said, what happened with you and Crystal? And in his words, that B is crazy. She said she was going to kill me. And my words were, she'll be effing dead. Okay? And so that eats at me every day because I feel like I've not lived up to what I said. You know what I'm saying? I don't want to do that, though, because I have other children, grandchildren, and it's not going to get justice. And it's not going to change the system, But, yeah, it's so much.
Yeah, and you really you devote an enormous amount of time every day into social media to try and bring attention to this case. And that
helps me to continue to do it right.
Yeah, I can imagine. I can't imagine. Jennifer Backstrom on TikTok and Terron's mom on TikTok is the main ones to follow and to share if you can. Now, what about how many hours a day do you spend trying to promote this information?
Good Lord. Sometimes it's like I don't even realize. I'm up 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, and sometimes it's 5, 6 in the afternoon, or later. And it takes a long time, especially when you have TikTok muting your videos or removing videos, and you have to do them over, because somebody on there is hating and reporting. It's so bad that I get numerous violations just for hashtag Terron Evans Jr. And they removed the hashtag in the comment.
Yeah. Yeah, people got to realize that there is systemic COINTEL, just for a lack of a better word, COINTELPRO type opposition to all of this kind of stuff we're doing here. It still exists today. And people who think that it's over or it's kind of watered down, or just the way I see it, it's increased. And I've lived through all this stuff. I was around in the 70s, man. And I just see it as increasing. And just
it is.
Have you received any other support from podcasters or radio shows and stuff like that trying to promote your work?
I have. I've been interviewed by George Kilpatrick from Inspiration for the Nation, sorry.
Okay.
Cheryl Lindell, she's on YouTube. And then there's been about Brooklyn Squad, she's on YouTube and TikTok. And Murder and Missing podcast.
Okay.
They've done a story on Terron. And then there's about 3 others. I just don't remember the names of all of them. So there has been help, getting Terron's story out there. The area, I totally appreciate all that, and it's so needed. But it's also needed that Potsdam shows up.
Yeah.
Potsdam speaks up, and St. Lawrence County as a whole. And that's what's not happening. So as long as the people that live there aren't doing anything, law enforcement and others in positions of power are going to continue to get away with what they've been doing for many, many years.
Yeah, people can show up in person June 1st, say his name, march in Potsdam Post Office at 6 p.m., 21 Elm Street. You got to show up in person. And also, too, you also contact and you request that people make phone calls to the prosecutor's office and things like that.
Yes, in my link tree, which is in the bio of my TikTok pages.
Right.
In that link tree, there are petitions to sign for Terron's case to be reopened and reinvestigated. There are links to contact the St. Lawrence County District Attorney, requesting him to refer Terron's case to the New York State Attorney General. There's a link for the governor requesting her to do the same thing. There's a link for the New York State Attorney General requesting her to investigate Terron's death. There's a link for the St. Lawrence County Sheriff's requesting that they release all materials related to Terron's death. There's also a link for the county attorney requesting that he release the 911 call. So there's a lot of links in a lot of ways to help. There's also links to the work I was doing prior to my son's death, which connects to the unsolved murder of a little boy that I was speaking up for, seeking truth and justice for. So you can see all of the work that I was doing and pretty much why my son was killed.
Now what about, I know we've talked about this in the past, and I know you've reached out to BLM National and Crump and Sharpton and people. Any support?
Nothing. Absolutely none. None. And the biggest problem is money.
Yeah.
even for those who are supposed to help us for free. It's time and money. That's the problem.
Yeah, we had a case in Vegas, Byron Williams. This was before George Floyd, a 50-year-old man, 55 years old. He's riding his bike without a headlight on it in the middle of the night. So cops, of course, they got to crack down on that. It's emergency. Get this man off the street immediately. And body cams, they're chasing him. He hops over a fence, then he's on the other side of the fence. He's lying down there on the ground. They hop on his back. I can't breathe. All on body cam. Body cams go, and they're laughing at him, of course, Body cams go off. They come back on. It's daylight.
Wow.
And they got EMS there working on this man. He's dead. I can't breathe on tape. This is before George Floyd. And you'd think that would be nationwide news. Look at this other case.
Right.
And our attorney, Keith Davidson, came out from California to handle that case and brought some attention to it. But Crump and them didn't get involved until years later. When it's a simple case, it's an easy case now.
Right.
Because to investigate this is a lot of time and a lot of money to investigate the Terron Evans case here. And, and when you're going to sue some little tiny police force there in Potsdam, New York, they got a little bit of money. They can come up with some money, but is there enough to attract?
Right, exactly.
The big guns, to come in, and you know what? I can't blame them. This is another kid getting shot every day in California, big money, New York, big money. They got cases coming out of their ears. Why would they? If I'm a working lawyer who's looking for big money cases,
it's all about the money.
Yeah, why would I go to Potsdam, New York, and stay in a little motel up there and work on this case? Shelling out money. It's all about the money.
It is because I've talked to many lawyers.
Yeah.
And some of them have been like, okay, so what is it you want? What I want is for whoever is responsible for planning the death of my son, killing him, and covering up the truth. I want them held accountable and prosecuted and face jail time. That's what I want. And that's when they're like, oh, well, never mind, blah, blah, blah. Like, wow. I understand it. I can't understand it because I've never been the type of person to live about the money. It's always about life. It's about, what I'm saying? What we need is about, it's not about the money because you can't buy kindness. You can't buy love. You can't, you know what I'm saying? You can't buy a person to stop being racist or, none of that. It takes accountability and justice. And that's what I want.
But to leverage this case where you can get a settlement from, to finance the litigation, to get a settlement from Potsdam police, and also to get an arrest and a conviction of people responsible for this, that's to leverage that. It would be like a hole in one, you know what I mean? It's a really tough game for that because what they want is they'll settle if everyone keeps quiet and this goal goes away. And to get both is an impossibility. In 2024, in the American justice system of what we have here today. Since you've been talking about this uphill battle, this battle of inches like we described every day here on TikTok, trying to draw attention to your case, any type of COINTELPRO opposition in your life on a daily basis now?
Every once in a while, I get people saying some crazy things, but it's not a lot. It's nothing like it was a year ago, and before that.
Now, you mentioned several times you have a bunch of other kids and a bunch of other grandkids. Are they experiencing any kind of harassment, or especially up there in Potsdam?
Well, no, my family is out of there. My mom, unfortunately, she's not said anything. I've asked, but she says no. I know she probably wouldn't tell me. Oh, Lord.
I know. You know, you're right. Well, who are we kidding? You know what I mean? They go after your family too. You know?
Right.
Yeah. Now, obviously, you know, you have this determination. What would you say to other people going through these kind of things to inspire them to keep fighting?
I would just say that for your loved one, do not give up. That their lives mattered, and the truth deserves to be told. We deserve to know the truth of what happened. Don't let fear stop you. You know, I know that's a big reason why a lot of people don't speak up.
Yeah.
It's because of fear. You know, but for me, I have to think of it like this. If I don't stand up and fight now, the fight for my grandchildren is going to be even harder. They're going to have to fight even harder. And why should they? We are responsible for making these changes now while we're here. This is our responsibility. So we can't leave it to them to do. We have to do this. And that's what keeps me going. You know, I have other kids. My other two children are adults. My grandkids are little, you know. It's our job. And there's no excuse, really. You know what I'm saying? What our ancestors went through, there's really no excuse for us to not do anything. You know, we have a government that it's not broken. It's doing exactly what it was created to do. And we have to change that because what they're doing is not for the best interest of the people.
We're talking to Jennifer Braxton. You could find her on Facebook, too, as well, under Jen Thomas-Bidwell. And on TikTok is Jennifer Braxton. There's a link tree on there. Another one is Terron's mom you could find on there. June 1st, say his name, march and protest at 6 p.m., 21 Elm Street at the post office in Potsdam, New York. I got to tell you, I've done shows like this, so many, you know, and it's always the mother.
Right. So it's
that has the courage to come on here and talk about this, because this is not an easy fight, you know,
right.
And there are consequences for coming out here and sticking your neck out and exposing light on these things.
Right.
It's always the mother. I can think of one show where it was an uncle who came on. Mm-hmm. It's always the mother or a daughter, you know, and the strength of these women, I got to tell you, man, it's our only hope, you know, to have any kind of justice in these kind of situations.
Right.
Jennifer, thank you so much. And, you know, you have an open invitation to come back anytime this is a new development or anything we can do to help you.
Thank you.
Keep us in the loop. And thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. You're an inspiration to me. You really are.
Thank you.
Good night.
Have a good day.
You too.